Be'ez Hashem, Parshas Kisovoy, second Shir Chodesh Elul, Tavshin Pei. We all know that one of the main parts of doing tshuva is Charta, which means regret. A person looks back at something that they did, something that they spoke, and a person regrets it and understands that that's not a good mahalach. It doesn't help. It's not even good for Olam Hazeh, and definitely not for your neshama. And a person has deep feelings that they wish it wouldn't have happened. They don't want that lifestyle. They want to come back to Rebbeinu Shalom and do things better the next time around. Now there's a big issue with this part of tshuva, that it brings people down, makes them depressed. Sometimes if a person really did something bad, they can't forgive themselves. That, what was I thinking? I can't believe it. I actually did that. And now look what happens. The repercussions of the actions that I did is so terrible that it pulls a person down on a gewaltige Ofen. Now, the Sforim say a person is supposed to do tshuva b'simcha. You're supposed to be excited when you're doing tshuva. It seems like it's impossible. You're saying something very funny. It means you're saying that I should blame myself and think about my issues and understand that I messed up terribly. And then you tell me, no, but you should be excited. It happens to be. P.S. Be excited. I can't. You took me there. You made me think and dig in something that's terrible, disappointing, and now you're telling me that I shouldn't get depressed? So one of the main issues, one of the main reasons for this problem is because people misinterpret the meaning of Chorata, of regretting, and people think that it's the same concept as to blame yourself. It's very close. If the mother tells the child, you wanted to take the grape juice to the table yourself, right? Okay, now look what happened. Not only the grape juice is gone, now it's full of glass. And now look what happened. The little baby touched a piece of glass. Do you see what happened with the nusach? Do you see what happened? So the child says, okay, I regret. What do I regret? I regret that you told me that I'm too small, that I should hold on with both hands, and now I chap. That maybe I shouldn't have done that. I should have asked for help. When mommy said no, I should have understood the no. Yeah, but that's not what happens usually. Like, oh, that was so enlightening. That was so amazing. It's a massive limud. I just learned the lesson. It never happens like that. The end of the story is and they just went to bed and said nothing, all depressed, because it's blame. When a person blames themselves, they're shooting themselves in the foot. They're breaking themselves. And when that happens, a person feels depressed. But even more than that, and that's what's so important. The problem with blaming yourself, people think it's ruchnius. People think, I'm serving Hashem right now. I'm serving Hashem because I'm saying that because of my sins, that's what happened. Because I was thinking about my sister-in-law, I was jealous, and that's what it was Ayin Hora, and that's what this whole thing happened. And I can't. And someone once told me that if you say it out of your mouth, then it happens, and it happened. All this blaming business, people think that they're serving Hashem because they're believing that Hashem did it as a revenge, as a result of something bad that they did. They're giving themselves malchus. But it's nicht emes. And even practically, the more a person is invested, is spending time and energy to blame yourself, that's on the expense that you cannot put the nefesh in to try to fix, because you're too busy. Even though you're not really deciding not to fix, fakert, you're deciding you're going to be a better yid. But if you're busy, Elul and Rosh Hashanah, slapping yourself in the face, telling yourself, yeah, I always knew it's bad, but I would rather not look, but Elul, you have to check out the matzav, it's bad. And I can't believe it. It's a disaster of a year. And because of this and because of that, that doesn't let you fix because you're too run down. You don't want to hear anything. I get it. I'm the bad one. It's miyash. It's a person just gives up. What is Charot? So this form explain that a person is supposed to take themselves out of the picture and try to observe the two mahalchim, two ways of doing something, kilu it wouldn't be them. Take yourself out, meaning, if you want to understand what's a proper way of chinuch versus what you shouldn't be saying, what you shouldn't be responding to certain matzav. So imagine you're not the person to blame. And you're just discussing, it's interesting. So you're saying, look, I'm going to show you. Look what happens. Someone does something wrong, and then you could respond, you could say, why do you do that? You have no seichel. You always do that. You weren't thinking. And then watch, biologically even, watch what happens inside the other person, how the person would be behaving tomorrow, what kind of, in the psyche of the person. Imagine we'll be able to see what what happens. And you're just watching it. It's very interesting. And then you're saying, okay, now I'm going to show you how a person responds the other way. Says, oh wow, listen, let me teach you. You see? Very calm, let me teach you. You see, when you do this, then this happens. Now if you do the other way, look how beautiful it could be. And you watch what happens in the person that's supposed to be receiving the information in their mind. And like, wow, that's fascinating. No blame. No one's at fault. We're just observing and learning it. It's fascinating. It's amazing. Imagine we could live our lives like that. Every time we make a mistake, there's no one to blame. We just wait like a week and no one feels bad. We just explain it. Let's explain how this works. This is going to be the reaction if you do it this way, the other way. Let me explain to you why you did it, because you thought you're going to be making money that way. I'll explain to you why you don't make money that way. Fundraiser calls the person and tells him, your father was stingy, okay? I'm not planning to have this with you. This is a huge mitzvah. And if you're not doing it, you're never going to go out of Gehenna. Learn about it. That means educate yourself. Stop. Why that doesn't work? What happened? What does that person think when you're saying that? Why it's good for that person to say, listen, I made a big exit sign. I'll show you how to use it. You'll exercise the exit. That means if you learn about it without blaming yourself, you could comprehend and you could fix. If you're busy blaming yourself, you get dragged down and you can't spend now time to learn because you're too busy being upset and saying, ich kann nicht jetzt lernen. It's like I went through something, a trauma today, what? That I was knocking myself. So that's step number one. Understand the difference between regretting and blaming. Regretting is not dafke because I did it. Regretting is understanding that mahalach doesn't work. It doesn't lead to a good place. I'm regretting that I used, like a guy went to the store and he was told that this, it could be food, it could be something else. This is great. So then you bought it, you used it, and it was a waste of money. So you regret. Blame, I'm not to blame because I was told that this is what I should be doing. If the other person, he also thought. So there's no one to blame. But I'm regretting it without blaming anybody. It's very, very important. People think that if I'm not going to knock myself, then I'm not really doing tshuva. I'm like being this cool guy, Stam El Tishrei, not really like into it. I have to blame myself, to knock myself. It's not
a person reached Bechi from
sure.
not blaming.
He's asking if a person could be crying. Sure. Of course, a person could be crying by blaming themselves, but that's not crying that's going to build them. It's not going to build them. A person sees that mahalach is not a mahalach, and he's lost. Bechi, like he's so lost. It's not good. We're not now for 1 second reducing the problem of the chet. We're just looking at it with a broader, I'm observing it from the side, so I should be able to handle it. Not that I'm a chovush, which is in chovush mata atzmei beisa asurim, because I'm supposed to now in the same time be depressed and upset, and I can't believe it, and it's not possible to fix. It's interesting that when a person feels at fault, every time a person feels at fault with something that happened, then if you could just close, then what happens is if a person feels at fault, then they shut down. They shut down from what they would, different parts of their mind shut down because I'm at fault. I can't believe it. Imagine there's supposed to be mashgiach in a yeshiva. He's supposed to be making sure that I'm sitting and learning and steiging and everything. He's not doing his job. He's in the Rebbe's room. He's schmoozing. That's what's happening right now. And he has a boss over him. Now, the boss goes into the heichel of the boys. He sees the boys are running around, playing games. There's nothing going on. He says, "Where's this mashgiach? What's going on?" He finds the mashgiach in the room, and he's giving a shiur explaining the politics. What's going on? And he has a big koyach hasbara. They're like all into it. He rips him apart. He tells him, "What are you doing? Because of you." On and on and on and on. 10 minutes. Now, I want you to go in right now, this second, and take care of them. Is it possible? Of course it's impossible. He's going to go in there. But boy, the Abrahman on these Bochram, zero tachlis. He's torn down. Tomorrow I could try to think, but now I was just knocked. Now I was just blamed. I don't have the nefesh now to go in and smile to the boys and say, okay, we had a strickle nisayan. It's normal. We're all bachram, but let's chaparayim. We have another 20 minutes to say that. Of course he can. He cannot do that. He's not capable of doing that. So why do you think that when you knock yourself and blame yourself, you have the koyach now to fix? Now you're done. Versus if you look at such a mahalach and say, I think it's a mahalach that could really work. Maybe you're not at fault because you were brought up like that. Or even simpler, when a person is young, they're missing knowledge, and we're always young in relative to tomorrow. We're always learning. So I didn't have the knowledge yet. Imagine this positive vibe. Okay, I didn't yet have this knowledge. I'm new. You have these confident people that they come in and then they say, okay, let me learn. So I didn't know this yet. Okay, so that was a mistake. Okay, so let me teach you the right way to do this. Okay, no problem. Then a person is on the go. I want to try again. It's something that works. The pashut works. Norvos, in order for a person to be able to not blame themselves and not feel that they're the ones that did it, they need to have a dose of emunah that when you're looking at the past, you're supposed to understand that it was bashert, the circumstances. You must get that into your head. Mistakes were made, of course, but the circumstances was bashgocha protis. It was supposed to be like that. Hashem designed it, that it should be that situation. Hashem could have gave you that seichel 2 years ago to just chap. And it didn't happen. And if you needed tefillah for that, to get the seichel, Hashem could have made sure that you daven. But now, you're looking at that and you're saying, I had to go through this because everybody has to go through a journey in life. Because our job here is to take the past and then combine it with the new knowledge that I have and say, now that I understand that that's not a good. When I was young, and that could be about yesterday, when I was young, I used to think that this is the gang. And I'm confident to say that that was my mistake. Let me explain my mistake. That was my mistake. And I hope that next year I will be explaining the new mistakes. Because I hope I'm going to be steiging. And then I'm going to chap that the knowledge that I have now is also missing, is also not accurate if you compare it to when a person steigs. Understands? No, it goes weiter.
Does this fit with the Shonus like Boishti and Yichlamti when you come in Alecha?
Well, no. I'm embarrassed. A person is embarrassed because even if it was Bashet, then people are embarrassed. When a person comes to shul and their hat is smashed and they couldn't fix it, they tried as much as they could. You know who did it? The 2-year-old. But they had to come. They had okay, what do we do now? It was Shabbos and it's all over the rekel. They're very, very embarrassed. It's not nice, the rekel. It doesn't change that it's beautiful. But it was also Bashert. A person is not trying to now run away from the achrayas. Let's explain. That's very important. This way of looking at things is not in order for a person to say, Oy bazoi, I'm free for all because it wasn't me. It was Bashat anyways. No, you're using that, so you should understand that right now I have a massive achrayas. I have a responsibility every second of my life. But this responsibility is always, all the time. That responsibility is to look at the past and combine it with the knowledge that I have right now and act and do something about it. I have massive responsibility. I'm not like shoving, who cares? No, it's very important. Because if I am going to fix, then Ambem is going to fix the past. I'm going to fix it. Now, for example, there's a very important example. It's interesting that I'm going to use a certain example, but it goes into a different example. Just I watched it, so now I could relate to that. But it's also only an example for other cases as well. I was once with the organization Kesher Nafshi. Kesher Nafshi is an organization for people that are struggling with children, that it was hard for them and they didn't figure out their lives and they went away from the Yiddish derech and not keeping Torah mitzvahs. And I found something fascinating there. There's different lectures, different speakers, different sessions. Now you could find there sessions that are speaking about neshamas that the Rebbeinu Shalom sent from Shamayim, which had to go through a certain journey. And we don't understand Cheshbon Shamayim. And Mar Makoim is from this forum that Be'ikvus the Mashiach, there's going to be neshamas. That is their journey on this world. That they have to go first through this, and then they have to come back, and it can't be explained. Okay, lunch. Come back. Session. Explaining post-traumatic parenting. Explaining what happened, how this happens. Okay? Trauma that the parents had when they were children, and how they were parenting based on that trauma, and how you were putting that trauma into the child. And even though you were saying some right sentences, but what you were feeling inside is you were upset, you were triggered, this child is reminding you of so much pain, and your inner child is now waking up, and that's why this happened to this child. And then you're wondering, so I don't chap. So what's this organization? I don't chap. Is it because it was Bashert? Or is it the other story? You're explaining to me that it's not me, it's my mother's mother that was by the Shoah, that she, Lemaisa, so my mother was Mechanech, so that's why this whole thing happened. So do they do groups like, okay, everybody that it happened because of trauma is it should go into this concurrent session, but the people that was Bashert, no, it's not for you. The Bashert people should go there. What's the answer? Very simple. Maybe it's not simple for the first time, but the answer is that when it's Bashert for a neshama to go through a journey, then the mahalach that's going to bring to that result is going to be with a certain levush. That means it's going to happen a certain way. That means they were abused physically, emotionally, verbally. They were abused and then something happened. Or any of the trauma, they were learning disabled and nobody ever chapped. And they were sitting there and it was silent. It's trauma. It's just to sit there in class when you're not understanding anything. There's always going to be a levush how that thing happened. Not because it's Bashert, it means it comes down from Shemaim. Sweetest guy, smartest person. It happened 2:15 p.m. Boom. He just left. That's not how things work. When it's Bashert, then it has like a system, like a shvil, and that's how the Bashert thing happens. The Chorachai HaKodesh explains it in Parshas Vayera. He says Avraham Avinu was promised by the Rebbeinu Shalom he's going to have children. Hashem pocket the Sorah. And then Rashi comes along and says, you know how Avraham Avinu had Yitzchak? Oh, because he was mispal for Avimelech. And I'm mispal ba'at chaveiroi, v'hu tzorach lo yisei dover, hu ne'anat chila. Oh, amazing, he had a child. I don't understand. Could I understand why Rashi has to say this amazing skula that he did, and that's how he had a baby boy? Why can't you say, learn the pasuk with Taich? Hashem pokat asora kasher omor. Very simple. Hashem promised them they're going to have a baby boy, and they had one. Zog the Chorachai HaKodesh. Of course that's true. But then when the time comes that Hashem keeps His promise and gives you a baby boy, there's a system how that comes. It doesn't fly down a baby boy. Hashem directs it that it should happen, including that Hashem would be making sure you do the mitzvah that's going to give you that zgula. So any person that needs to have now a certain specific abundance, it should come shefa min hashamayim. You basheret parnasa, you basheret now to have a child or a refuah. So not only Hashem is going to just make it happen, Hashem is going to give you a achnasas orchim so you could have refuah. Hashem is going to make sure that you say Parsha Samon Tuesday b'shalach, just making a joke. You should, and then that's how you should get your partner. There's going to be mahalach, and that's how you're going to get it. That's going to be the way, because when it's Bashert, Hashem makes the whole system happen. It's you know what it is like. Many times, let's say you want your child to have a job somewhere, and you have protection there, top be'emes. You call up your best friend and you say, "Can my daughter come work by your company?" He says, "No problem, done." It's like a 30-second phone call. They're best friends for 30 years. Okay. He knows that. He sends his daughter down. His daughter comes into the secretary. The secretary says, "Okay, let me just have your ID and I'll sign here." She calls her father frantically and says, "You told me you have protected. They make me sign papers. They want my ID. I don't know what is this all about." The father calls the guy. The guy says, No. It's just for the protocol. I just need her in this. It's nothing. I'm giving it to you, but I'm just walking you through the system." When the Eibishter wants something to happen, you're also going to be signing the papers on the way. There's a system how it comes. It's the same thing. So now, when you find yourself in a matzav that a disaster happened, you're looking at the over, terrible, and now you're wondering, so was it because it was bashert? That's like A. Multiple choice. B is because I did every wrong move. So stupid. What was I thinking? Ask every mechanech. Blindly they'll tell you, if you do this, that's what happens. So they go to a therapist. They go to a mumche. I don't care. One uses Chavis Avavas and Mesilas Yesharim and Achveis was, and the other one says, "What do you mean it was trauma?" And was verstehst du nicht? That one complements the other. Why don't you understand that? Was is Negeya? Negeya is that for the past, Hashem created circumstances. Those circumstances needed to be there for many reasons, including that Hashem knew the results of those circumstances. And that's how the Basher Tazach happens. The second you have that knowledge, that split seconds, it's my responsibility to see how I could fix that. Because if Hashem wanted that Basher Matzav to continue, then I wouldn't have that knowledge now. Hashem is giving me now that knowledge to try to fix. And next year, I might have a total new perspective. But now I don't have that perspective. So now Hashem wants me to work with what I have. So going back, we use this as an example for the Chorata and overall, for regretting and overall. When I'm regretting, I'm not busy knocking. I'm looking at the past and saying, I should have done better. I don't know if I had the seichel then. Maybe yes, maybe not. But it doesn't make a difference right now because I'm regretting it anyways. Because I'm not focusing on knocking. I'm focusing on making sure that I get it. So I want to understand the problem. Again and again, I'm reviewing it. So it's like this, it's like that. Okay, so now let me fix. This, a person told me that the Rachmastivka Rebbe from Borough Park said over Chidush HaOrim. The Chidush HaOrim said that, the bottom is mud. So the Chidush HaOrim said when a person pachkas, he's like in the blot, he's in the mud, he's this way, that way, he's getting all dirty. Rachmastivka Rebbe said it doesn't mean that you're not thinking all about the chait. If you're busy with yourself, then you're in the blot. Don't be so busy understanding how stark you're the one that it's fault. Be busy understanding the concept. That Aveira is not good. It doesn't do good. Even if I wouldn't have done the Aveira, let me study it. Let me chap that that's not a good mahalach. And then it goes into the person. They say a story about a Chabadska Chosser, Lubavitcher Chosser. He was in last moments of his life, and he was like preparing to go on to the next world. And someone came to say Vidui. He was saying Gashamnu, Bagadnu, Gazalnu, and then he stops in the middle. He says, I'm in the last moments of my life. Weiter sich. I did this avela. I did this sin. Why am I busy? And he started saying, let me talk about let me utilize those last few minutes of my life, not thinking what I did. People would want to look back, flashback, and say, listen, I did something in life That's not the most important. If I have a few minutes, let me thank Hashem. If I have a few minutes, let me utilize it maybe to do another chesed. But not about how successful or not successful I was. That's less important. It's more that a person should be able to be mevar the emes and try to serve Hashem better now. What could I do? That's why you're supposed to be busy with the future, not be so busy with the past. I only need the past to be able to have the knowledge how to work with the future. Not to be able to now get back into that. Imagine a person after the Second World War, lost a family with children, but the person is now 30 years old. He has life ahead of him. He could get married. He could build a new family. It's very, very, very sad and traumatic what happened. What would you advise that person if you meet him? If you sit with him and he's trying to tell you the Lamaisa, let me explain to you. I was running. If I would have made a right, I could have had my whole family now. In the end, someone told me that I should be making a left, and there were Nazis right there. We would listen and feel and cry with him. And then we would say, listen, you have Bechira to know if you want to be stuck in the past. It's hard. But now, look, you were saved, you're healthy, you're young. Do something. You could really, that's what we would tell him. So why don't you tell this to yourself? When you're busy saying that I didn't look where I went there and I shouldn't have done that, and you're busy digging in, let's make a list of what we want to study, what we want to understand for the future, and let's learn about it. Let's explore how this works and what aids is there, instead of knocking myself and going back. So why did I do that? Imagine you watch a conversation between two people, Reuven and Shimon. Reuven is telling Shimon, you have no seichel, and using all kinds of words, including like with question marks. What were you thinking? And he's talking like with big gaiva. It makes no sense. Even a 5-year-old chaps, they're not supposed to do this. It doesn't make sense. 2 + 2 = What would you be thinking about Reuven? You think that he's a shtickle bal gaiva. Okay, calm down. You have it out. We make mistakes. How do you know that person's situation? How do you know Shimon, when he made it, you're so clear that this is the seichel Eibusha gave him. He's trying his best. Okay, I'm not saying you shouldn't fix him. I'm saying don't talk to him like that. If you have that, then why don't you understand that when you are Reuven and Shimon, Reuven shouldn't be speaking to Shimon like that? It's the same thing. You have now more knowledge. But say this. So of course we should fix. We're not fixing. But the way to relate to it is, it wasn't good. But now let's look positively and say, the Eibusha gave me matana. The matana is that Hashem is giving me knowledge. The Eibusha is giving me achanor. The Eibusha is giving me rotzen. Look, the Eibusha is giving me rotzen to fix. I'm excited. The Eibusha is helping me out of something that wasn't good. I want to connect to that light, to that or that the Eibusha is giving me, and I want to utilize it. So what's that mahalach? It's very, very, very important that a person should be able to stand from the side, and even though they could chap what they did wrong, they should be able to tell themselves, whatever happened were circumstances that Hashem knew about. Hashem wants me to look at it and say, it had to be there for my journey. My journey is to take that and fix it. Not to knock myself about how I was when I was young. Why wouldn't Hashem create us? Not that we should have the knowledge of Malachim, but Chach, by 13 years old, like 50. Like a 50-year-old. Middle age. It's just gefährlich. Wouldn't it be a little bit more simple? Yeshiva Das. A whole stack of mistakes. If you push it, no, doesn't work. Cut it out. This doesn't work. That's it. Like a Bainani person, 50. Nothing out of this world. You know how many issues wouldn't be and mess ups, terrible stories wouldn't happen. And if Hashem is offering that knowledge anyways, it's not 50-year-olds, what's the problem? The answer is that that's not the system of the Bria. The Rebbe Hashem wants us to learn from mistakes, to go on in life and realize and fix, and realize and fix. And by us doing that, that is the Tachas Abriya. It wouldn't be a Tachas if we figured it out. Every person that reaches new level of understanding, they say, if I would have known this 30 years ago, and the Rebbe Hashem answers at a baskol, then I wouldn't have needed to create this Briya, if you would have known this 30 years ago. But when you do Tshuva Mehava, you're fixing 30 years at once. When you sing Rebbeinu Shalom, this I chap, I get it. And when a person goes that, they have a simcha. They have a simcha. How does a person feel if they're working on a shtickle Gemara for a long time and they don't get it, and then they got it? It's such a simcha. So if a person is working 30 years to chap, and then they chap, once you chap, you did it. And when you say Rebbeinu Shalom, I chap so badly that I understand the oimik, what's wrong with the other way, then that's Shuvah Me'ahav on a certain level. That the Chazam Sofer says in the Droshes that if a person ate nevelos and then they did Shuvah Me'ahav, every kezayis nevela is like a kezayis of kochim that they ate. It's like an oila and a chatos that they ate. The Chazam Sofer is not talking about the Baditchevarov, because the Chazam Sofer is talking about someone that ate nevelas. Kumto is that the Tshuva Me'ahava, we're not talking about someone that's like totally not our madrege. No, we're talking about those same people. When they have that realization, they chapt that moment. That's tikkun hanefesh. Some mechanchim, some professionals, some therapists, they would say like, when that kid, that teenager, that moment in their eyes when they felt understood, that was a turning a corner. It took years, but that was something. You know why? Because there's a certain musik that when a person chaps something, it's a change of a life. It's something major. It's a shinui in the mahus from the person. When you chap, of course a person is crying. They chapped. Imagine a person would be arguing with a woman about a price of something and coming down hard on the payment plan and do this, and then he's told that woman just lost her husband a week ago, and they regret, and then they look back at what they said and they regret even more. And on the other hand, it said it in the Choseh. That's regret. Now, a lot of people would blame themselves, but it's not true. It's not true, because if I chap, they say a picture's like 1,000 words, because a picture you chap. When you have a deeper, a broader, more emsdig understanding in that the why this is hisnagus, or that's not well, and this is good, and I don't want to go there, and Hashem will help me in any area, in emunah, in tefillah, in fixing, then you chapt, and you daven to Hashem, help me. Don't worry, don't get now stuck in that knocking yourself. This is something that's very, very, very important. And even more, just to top it off, to finish it off, you're bringing Hashem into the Charata. If you are talking about, it's like Hashem is not around, and I did it, and I shouldn't have done it. And Hashem like wants to come and say, Hashem, no, I'll call you by the Kabbalah ala Osid. Then you don't have much atzlacha. The Chorata is with the Rebbeinu Shalom. Like Rebbeinu is here. I don't know if I did, if I didn't do it, doesn't make a difference. It doesn't make a difference. I want to do what's right. And I want to understand deeper why that mahalach is not right. That's it. It could help people do tshuva b'simcha, and it could help people focus on the how to fix instead of focusing how to if I was at fault. And especially when it comes to bigger disappointments in a person's life, tragedies and deep agmas nefesh. As long as the parent, as long as the person in the story is blaming themselves, they're not healing. They can't heal like that. The person understands what had to happen happened anyways. Now let's see what's the right mahalach. Then they can heal. And not only because it's chizik, it's because then you're touching the truth. When you're touching the truth, you could build upon it.